Professor Dave Explains, as many people know him on the internet. He's really a student aide. He's not a professor. Has the same level of education as yours truly. We both have master's degrees. And in fact, we're almost born on the same day. I'm 2 days older than him. If you look up what's the coldest day ever recorded, it's my birthday. And if you look 2 days later, it's July 23rd, 1983. Professor Dave Explains birthday, or student Dave. And again, I want to play this clip of his remark here. He said, the only thing dumber than flat earth is numerology. And again, he said this many times before. I challenged him on this years ago. It's not the first time he said it. When I challenged him years ago, the channel was doing a lot better back then. We'd only been deleted about 20 times. Now we've been deleted 25 times, and we're way buried in the algorithm. But back then, he must have felt a little bit challenged by the video because somehow he got his friends at YouTube to take down the video and suspend me for a week for copyright for playing a clip of his video, which to me just didn't make any sense because last time I checked, we're allowed to play other people's videos if we're responding. I only played 30 seconds of his video talking about how dumb numerology was for the sole purpose of showing him how his favorite agency, NASA, does everything by the code of numbers, by the code of numerology, which is truly undeniable. Unlike flat Earth, which is totally, bogus. Again, you don't have to like numerology as a practice. I don't practice numerology in my own life, but it's very easy to see that our government, it goes beyond NASA, operates by a numerical code every single day that's based within Kabbalah. It is undeniable. And we will go over it again. And Professor Dave Explains, I swear to God, if you figure out how to get this video taken down for copyright, I just know you are a scumbag coward. You sit here and play other people's videos and respond. I still find that to be one of the most shameful things that's happened in my history on YouTube. The fact that you had my video taken down years ago for copyright, and I still don't know how YouTube justified it. But yeah, treat other people the way you want to be treated. You play other people's videos and you respond. I gave you a very fair response. And the other thing is, you guys, I wasn't even mean to him. I complimented how good his work was on educating flat earthers about how dumb the flat earth theory is, which it is. That's the one place Professor Dave Explains and I agree. But we're going to start with what he says about numerology, and then we're going to show how in many ways what he criticizes about the ignorance of flat earthers is also very reflective in him because his worldview is very narrow, and he hasn't done research into the occult. He hasn't looked into the occult, and if the occult, which is into things like numerology and Kabbalah, is influencing what we see in the media, what we're seeing in politics, what we're seeing with agencies like NASA. He hasn't looked into it one bit, and when he's told things, he's just dismissive of it and acts like it's dumb and he doesn't need to give it any research. How can you expect flat earthers to be any different, Dave? They're a lot like you in a lot of regards. That is the irony. Your sidekick, Simon Dan, you guys are both a lot alike, but let's listen to the student aide here, student aide Dave, and then I will respond. So, and realize that both him and Simon Dan love to pick the dumbest of the dumbest because it's just easier to respond and look good. And I'm going to comment on what he shows here, and then, yeah, we'll just talk more about it. Let's play this clip real quick.
Taken with that camera, the number, I don't know if this means anything, 5565. For all you number Nazis down there who are like, oh my God, that means God, you killed. But I was curious, and I entered those into a Gematria website, and I got some strange phrases. Don't trust the devil ever, 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 ever. That's a little suspicious, if I'm being honest with you, so I don't know.
Oh, he's a numerology lunatic. That explains a lot. Yes, a random phrase with an arbitrary number of evers matches a random number. Holy shit, space must be fake. We found the only thing dumber than flat earth, guys.
It's almost as if there's a dome.
So, again, Professor Dave Explains won't respond to what I'm showing about this subject of numerology and gematria, but he'll respond to this because it is dumb. And, yeah, it's also shameful. And this is what, you could say controlled opposition looks like, just people that take knowledge that is important and they put it out there. And then think about how many people will hear of gematria for the first time through watching Professor Dave Explains video, which has approaching 500,000 views. A lot of people are going to hear about this subject for the very first time watching a video like this, and this is their introduction, these things register in the brain. These are drops in the bucket the wrong direction. This is not the way to learn about this topic. I'm pretty sure if Professor Dave explains, who we could say is my little brother. By the way, you need to learn to respect your elders. And I debated, you would severely get your ass handed to you. But here, let's continue for just a minute.
Home that a dog built, and we can't get out of it. Uh-oh, your rocket. Instead of doing that against the dog's dome, it has to curve and come back down.
That's right, another moron.
Ever.
Here, we're gonna take it back one more time. Listen to exactly what he said, and then let's do this properly.
But I was curious, and I entered those into a GEMATRIA website, and I got some strange phrases. Don't trust the devil ever, 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 ever. That's a little suspicious, if I'm being honest with you, so I don't know.
Oh, he's a numerology lunatic. That explains a lot. Yes, a random phrase with an arbitrary number of evers matches a random number. Holy shit, space must be fake. We found the only thing dumber than flat Earth, guys.
It's almost as if there's...
No, you didn't find the only thing dumber than flat Earth. And again, here's the proper way to look at these things, because everything NASA does is by a numerical code, and you can prove it every single time. I wrote a book about this 10 years ago. Before I wrote the book, I was proving my point. Since then, I've proven my point many times. And let's just look at Artemis II, since that is what the subject matter is here. And by the way, no, I'm not a flat earther. Obviously, that should have been understood just based on already my remarks. But I can't stand Professor Dave Explains, because where he is good at debunking flat earth, he's also horrible as a human being when it comes to walking people into terrible lies that are a lot more consequential than believing in the flat earth, like the Cooties 19 scam. And we will go over that. So, again, they said that the Artemis II splashed down at 5:07 p.m. And long before this happened, we talked about how important 57 was in the ritual of Artemis II. And long before that, I'd written a book about how important 57 is in the history of the space program. And understand that in numerology terms, a zero is a null value. So 507 is a lot like 57. But just starting with 507, it is the 410th composite number. And when was the landing? The 507 splashdown on the date that we write, 410, April 10th. And just with regards to simple numerology, this was the 10th manned moon mission in the history of the NASA space program. The 10th manned moon mission ended on the 10th day of April. They sent 4 astronauts to space on the first day of the 4th month for a moon mission, where when most people think of the moon mission, they think of Apollo 11, which happened in the time of Cancer, the 4th astrological sign, which the moon rules over. Again, just simple numbers. Simple numbers. 10 is the 4th triangular number. That means if you add 1 through 4 together, it equals 10. So 10 and 4, big in this. Simple. But the 507, the 410th composite, again, the proper way to look at the English GEMATRIA values is within the base ciphers of the language, which are simple. They are the alphabetic order. And understand, this practice of coding numbers into words goes back to Sumer, goes back to the original alphabets. This is an ancient practice. This isn't something new or made up. It's a real-world practice that's been around for longer than science. Yeah, this predates science. These occult ideas that are alive and well, and everyone can prove it by just learning about them. It's not to say that they're more important than science. It's to say that they're used right along the side of things like science. We showed this all throughout Cooties 19. Again, yours truly wrote a book at the beginning of the scamdemic, accurately forecasting why it would end when the year of the tiger came around. Exactly what they did. Not to mention everything else that we accurately forecasted even before it happened. Anyway, the 4 base ciphers, the alphabetic order with numerology, the reverse alphabetic order with numerology. You can see the 4 base ciphers. We didn't make up the alphabetic order. We didn't make up this system. But just look, April 10th, the end day of the mission, is identical to April Fools in every single cipher. It is nearly identical to outer space in every single cipher. You can see the one place it's different is 42, which probably reminds you of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And just for the record, the computer that comes up with that 42 is the meaning of everything. It's called deep thought. Deep thought also equals 42, as does computer, as does internet. It connects to things like Facebook being launched on the 4th day of the 2nd month on the same day that DARPA's LifeLog ended, but that's a whole other topic. Anyway, that 42, it is connected to a lot of things. including the word Freemason and the word Jesuit. And of course, the moon has 35 craters named after Jesuit priests. And in the moon landing in Apollo 11, they supposedly took the Freemason Scottish Rite flag to the moon. And you know what? I should have put Freemason up there because it's 42 and 147 and Scottish Rite is 57. Anyway, the point is just right here. April 10th, April Fool's Day launch. Outer space and conspiracy, the overlap is clear and the 57s should stand out. Now, notice, it landed off the coast of San Diego. As you'd write it on an envelope, San Diego, CA, has the 57. Moon and Mars both have the 57 connection. And the 51, which was up there a lot too, wasn't it? And Scottish Rite, again, they took the Scottish Rite flag to the moon. Just so you know, the moon's on a 19-year cycle. 57 is divisible by 19. Look into Judaism and the 3 cycles of the moon and why that's important in their spirituality, which is something that happens every 57 years. Just another related topic. And remember, this practice of coding numbers into words does come from Jewish mysticism. Reed Wiseman, we talked about how his wife died at age 46, and they named a crater after her on 4/6, and they named it Carol, which makes you go, did they really name it after her, or is this just another crater named after the Jesuits? Because John Carroll is one of the most prominent Jesuits in the history of the country. And yeah, if you didn't know that 35 craters are named after Jesuit priests, again, Jesuit priests has a lot to do with what we understand about science, from Big Bang to astronomy to the transit of planets. And if you don't know who the Jesuits are, they are responsible for modern day Freemasonry. They wrote a lot of the rites of the Masons, including the Scottish Rite. But yeah, anyway, Reed Wiseman's wife died at 46, and they named the crater after her on 4/6. Seems pretty numerological. And they named it Carol. By the way, just with regards to 35 craters being named after Jesuit priests, everyone should look up the definition of Jesuitism from the 1800s. The definition is trickery and deception. April Fool's Day launch. Synced with the leader of the Jesuits, which we'll come back to. There's so many angles to this, but you can see in the base ciphers that Jesuitism is 35. They serve the Catholic Church. They serve the Pope, the Jesuits do. Catholic 35, like Holy See. You know, Professor Dave Explains hates religion, but it's interesting how tightly knit religion is through this Jesuit order with the world of modern day science. And again, the Jesuits are responsible for the calendar and the language. And as I've been educating about for going on 13 years, they have built a system within the language that they use for ritualism, which seems like they use for world domination. And, you know, here, let's just pull up the part about Artemis II and how they sync this up with Arturo Sosa, the leader of the Jesuits right now, as well as the last moon mission, which this year will be 54 years since, like the Jesuit headquarters of the Church of the Jesuit, building 54. But yeah, here, again, the launch date for this moon mission was a date with numerology paths of 15 and 51, which break down to 6, but you can see that moon is 15 and 51, so April Fool's Day this year was very fitting. And by the way, for all of you guys who watch Professor Dave Explains, I'm sure you heard him say, them launching on April Fool's Day had nothing to do with anything other than it was a fitting optimal date. Do you know how dumb that sounds, Professor Dave Explains? They haven't done a launch, a moon mission in nearly, or well, they did Artemis 1, but you know, they hadn't done a manned mission in nearly 54 years. And then out of all the days they could have chosen, they chose April Fool's Day. I mean, talk about being naive. Talk about being willfully naive. But here it is. Again, for all of you who don't know how many craters are named after Jesuit priests, just look it up. It's a fact. 35 craters, and I'd say now 36 craters, honestly. I think that Carol really is just a tribute to the Jesuits. On 4/6, just for the record, Catholic equals 46, like there's 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament. The Jewish section where they worship the moon. If you don't know the history of the Jesuits, they're a Catholic-Jewish alliance. I'd say Professor Dave Explains. You know, he has a surname that makes me think he was probably raised Catholic. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a lot like Bill Maher, maybe a Catholic Jewish offspring there. He looks pretty Jewish there. He's got a long, long pointy nose. He could fill in for Pinocchio, could Professor Dave Explains. But anyway, Arturo Sosa, 140 days after his birthday, did this mission launch. Artemis II, 140. Run it the other way, 103 like Jesuits. And how many days did it launch from the anniversary of the last moon mission? Oh, 103 days. It happened to be 103. And that mission ended in 72. And this year will be the 54th anniversary. So we're in the 54th year since. In case you're new here, this is a major Jesuit pattern, 54 and 72. Again, John Carroll established Georgetown at age 54. Just for the record, his name is also 54. But yeah, the Jesuit headquarters is the Church of the Jesuit, Building 54. At their peak, they had 54 universities in the United States. Again, the first Georgetown established while John Carroll was 54. We recently had the first Jesuit Pope, Pope Francis, who took office on March 13th, 2013, the 72nd day of the year, and really a million more things. Just a very recurring number pattern. They'll put these numbers together as in rituals quite often, and they've done it with Trump and Biden, who are both Jesuit educated, and many others. Obama, who was brought into politics by a Jesuit priest. I still know where he was on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. He was at the Agenda 2030 conference 54 days after turning 54 years old. Another big sick Jesuit joke, George W. Bush, who won the 54th election only because it came down to the state where his brother was the governor. By the way, Dave, I know you're a big politics guy too, and you love the Republican Party, and I'm being facetious there. But, Florida 43, Yale 43. Didn't the election at number 43? You weren't even old enough to vote. I know that because neither was I. We were both 17, and if we're in the same year in school, you were probably a senior in high school like I was. They told us the election was going to come down to the 43rd state, Florida, which equals 43, where Jeb Bush was the 43rd governor, and then George W. Bush becomes the 43rd president, like their daddy was the 43rd vice president. And of course, he was also the 41st president, went to Skull and Bones, which identifies by a number. But anyway, there's just so many angles you can come at from this. And just the word Artemis alone, again, equals 104. Law of the World writes 10th of April, 10-4. 10-4 over and out. Roman Catholic Church, for the record, also 104. What a day for the latest Artemis mission to end. And remember, the first Artemis mission was scheduled for Michael Jackson's birthday. The moonwalker who turned 11 right after Apollo 11. The moon landing was April 10th, which is exactly 2 weeks from the new Michael Jackson movie coming out. And that does mean that the 11th manned moon mission they said it's going to be going to the moon, Artemis 3. The 11th manned moon mission, they said, will take place mid-2027. Doesn't it seem likely it's going to involve Michael Jackson's death anniversary on June 25th, which is George Orwell's birthday anniversary, Mr. 1984? Like Michael Jackson had his super breakout year for his solo career in 1984. Again, what are we going to say? Again, Artemis 2 ends 2 weeks before the Moonwalker movie comes out. And by the way, the reason I put Moonwalk up here is because it's 40 as well as 104, like we just talked about. But yeah, from Apollo 11's moon landing to Michael Jackson's 11th birthday, 40 days. July 20th to the end of the month is 11 days. Michael Jackson's birthday is August 29th, 11 plus 29, 40. So they did the moonwalk 40 days before Michael Jackson turned 11, who'd go on to be the moonwalker. And moonwalk literally equals Artemis. I mean, think about this. First mission was scheduled for his birthday. And I realize it didn't launch that day, but you can look, what did happen that day was Jackson, Mississippi flooded. And weather warfare is another topic I think I've seen Professor Dave be dismissive of, which is quite idiotic since the U.S. banned weather warfare back in the 1970s, which means it's obviously a real thing. I mean, Lyndon Johnson, he did tell us, someday there'd be a weather satellite to control the world's cloud layer. Prior to that, JFK gave the speech about how in the future we would be able to control the weather to ensure there's no drought. And just for the record, the country turned 249 years old last year, July 4th, 2025. Turned 249, and we had massive flooding in Texas. Little girl's camp was washed away on the river, not far from where Lyndon Johnson grew up for the 249th birthday of the nation. some of this numerology, gematria thing might make you pop your eyes open too. But yeah, there's a lot to this Artemis II thing. I'm sure Professor Dave, it's respectful to call you that, but you're really Stu Nade Dave, right? The new Milky Way photo that they gave us, the new Milky Way photo from the Artemis mission, they just had to give it to us on the 97th day of the year. Milky Way equals 97. On the 97th day of the year was the day we get the new Milky Way photo. God, what else was it? There were so many things. I'm just going off the cuff here. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Earth set photo. Yeah, the Earth set photo. This was great. They took this one on the 96th day of the year. So we got the new Earth set photo on the 96th day of the year. Notice how Earth set has that 96. And Dave, you were just making fun of what the one guy said about that just bogus off-the-wall decode that made no sense, which allowed you to use as your prompt to go, see, this is the only thing dumber than flat Earth. You do know that NASA, their name equates to 666, right? And you can downplay. I know that they say that that's a stylized wing in tribute to aeronautics. By the way, just about the last mission being in 72 all these years, aeronautics is also 72, just for the record. And do you see the 126? Just for the record, so is John Carroll, because I really do think they named that crater after him, the very wealthy Catholic that has a lot to do with the history of everything that's gone on in this country since him, Georgetown, and then George Washington being recognized as the first president. Just, again, on 4/6, they had to name that crater Carroll, going up there with all the other Jesuit named craters. But yeah, seriously, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, 666. And Dave, just in case, I feel like I've given you an opportunity to be disingenuous and be like, so what are you saying? All aeronautics is the Jesuit order? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying they like to do ritualism. And since aeronautics is a key part of NASA's name, it kind of does make sense that last mission for a long time was in 72. That's kind of how these people roll. And they kind of are rig elections with the same numbers. Like right now, you got President Trump, another 72, just like President Biden, both Jesuit-educated men. So, again, big number with their order. Big number. And it has to do with 72 names of God in Kabbalah and 72 demons in the Goetia. But yeah, isn't it interesting? And maybe the Satanism part's a coincidence. It could be. The 57's in there as well. Dave, I hear you. You like to beat up on Eric Dubé, who I'm also not a big fan of. I would agree with you. The guy's a moron. You like to call him a Nazi a lot. Your flavor of Nazis are NASA Nazis, correct? NASA Nazis, is that right? NASA Nazis, that's your flavor. Because, right, the Nazi scientists that came over in, what is it, Operation Paperclip, Project Paperclip? Do you know that mission began on July 20th, 1945? You can look it up. Old Paperclip began 24 years to the day. 24 years to the day of the moon landing. And see, Nazis also equates to 24. And what's interesting, and by the way, if you don't know, that's the day there was actually a Jesuit plot to kill Hitler. There was. Look it up. Jesuit plot to kill Hitler on that same day years earlier in the war, July 20th, the anniversary of now the moon landing. But notice, with regards to this Jesuit thing, July 20th is the 201st day of the year, right? The Jesuit order equates to 201. If you don't know their history, their founder, Ignatius of Loyola, equals 201. He died on Rome's birthday last year. We're coming up on the anniversary, April 21st, the 111th day of the year did he die. He died on the 312th day of Trump's age after Trump got 312 electoral college votes. Then we get the first American Pope. Did you see the feud started with Pope Leo and Pope Trump? Or Pope Trump. President Donald Trump, the orange clown, on 4/7. Talk about numerology. Vatican equals 47 for the record. But yeah, we get Leo from the 312 area code in Chicago. The same area code where back in, Trump equals 88, and the Pope died at 88 on the 312th day of Trump's age. And again, in 88, Oprah asked Trump in the 312 if he'd want to be president someday. In case you're new here, Trump, 88, Pope dies at 88, sync with Trump. Trump takes office again at 25. Trump becomes number 47. Trump's scheduled to leave office in 29. We told you all these things back 4 years before he returned to office, why they'd make him a split-term president, age 78, Cleveland, 78, like he had his convention there in 2016. 78 cards in the tarot deck. The top cards are Trump cards, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, let's stick to the space thing. Again, the moon landing on the 24th anniversary of the Nazi secret program to bring over their scientists over to the U.S. Werner von Braun, one of the chief rocket scientists. By the way, Werner von Braun's name equals 207, like the moon landing was on the 20th day of the 7th month. But yeah, who was that first guy to walk on the moon? Wasn't it Neil Alden Armstrong, 201? Isn't that the first guy to walk on the moon, 201? And Armstrong alone equals 44. 4 astronauts on the first day of the 4th month. I think you can see it. Cancer, the 4th sign. Cancer equals 44. By the way, who took us in the chemo direction? Wasn't that a Jesuit priest that was at the head of the top of the medical world that decided we were going to go the direction of chemo for cancer? I'm pretty sure it was. What's the phrase? If the cancer doesn't kill you, the chemo will kill also 44. But anyway, so is space. And how old was the wise man astronaut who just got the crater named after him? Reed Wiseman. How old was he when his wife supposedly just died 2 days after Trump declared the moonshot? How old was he again? Can you guys remember? I'm forgetting how old he was. Can you remember with all those 44s? Oh, that's right. He was 44 years old. At just 44, his wife died at 46. And we've seen this combination of numbers in a lot of ways. Execution equals 44 and 46. Sacrifice equals 46. Genesis 46 about sacrifice. Yeah, you know, the list goes on. The list goes on. How about the fact that they had this extravagant trip and took these amazing photos from the dark side of the moon after launching on the day of the pink moon? Didn't they launch the day of the pink moon? Isn't there a band with pink in the name that, has an album about the dark side of the moon? Isn't it a classic? Am I onto something here? Pink Floyd, the launch date on the pink moon. If you didn't know, the full moon in April is the pink moon. So yeah, I think I'm onto something here. Let me scroll down and show you. They launched on 4/1, as we would write in the U.S. Pink Floyd 41. Could be a coincidence. Remember that album came out in 73, okay? From the anniversary of that album coming out on 3/1 to the launch on April 1st was 31 days later. Artemis, just the word Artemis is 31. And, you know, funny enough, from Roger Waters' birthday to the launch was 207 days. And the moon landing was on the 20th of July. And again, Werner von Braun, his name equals 207. You know, Werner von Braun also invented the character, the Elon, in the book Project Mars. When Elon did that Nazi salute, he did it on the 207th day of his age. And Werner von Braun's wife died that same day on Inauguration Day, which, by the way, is the 201st day of the nation's age and can be written 20/1. And inauguration of the President of the United States equals 201. And for anyone who's wondering why the Jesuits would be so obsessed with this 201, which they are, I mean, they were literally created 201 months after Martin Luther penned the 95 Theses. Their order was preserved by Catherine the Great in the time of the suppression with 201 Jesuit priests, and really a million other things. The reason why is because in Hebrew, 201 is related to illumination. And funny enough, a Jesuit created the Illuminati, and that was Adam Weishaupt, who ended up dying 201 days in history after the Illuminati's establishment anniversary. It was established May 1st. He died November 18th, which is 201 days later, like from the anniversary. Order of Illuminati, which he called it, equals 201. It's a reminder that Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits, if you look into it, he was part of the Alumbrado, which was considered the Illuminati of their time. And yeah, by the way, you know, the 16th century, the Jesuits are no doubt scientifically advanced, right? The heliocentric model was agreed to in the 16th century, the century of the Jesuit creation, where the Jesuits clearly brought scientific reason to the church. Probably said, listen, man, we need to keep up with the times, okay? If we don't get with the times, we're going to be out of here. So anyway, heliocentrism is 201. You can also see the 150 in it. You might know that the sun's said to be 150 million kilometers away on average. Notice Order of Illuminati, you know, the thing that illuminates the world, the sun, the moon's illuminated by the sun, the moon landing on the 201st day of the year. But you can see Order of Illuminati's got the 201 in it and the 93, which is interesting because they say the sun's 93 million miles away on average. And the word Illuminati alone, interestingly enough, is also just 150. You know, again, 150 million kilometers away on average. Again, this whole language system is so cleverly thought out. Just again, if you don't, the word gematria or gematria, what it means is geometry in language. And it's mostly based on sacred geometry rather than, you know, the geometry that you studied in middle school or high school, depending on what age you took it at. But just cool things about the language. If you write out 22 divided by 7, it equals 314 in the most simple cipher. That's the mathematical shorthand to pi, which is begins 3.14. And if you write out 227, or hold on. No, sorry, my bad. It's if you write out 360, the degrees in a circle. It is 227, kind of like 22 divided by 7. And when we learned about pi, we mostly learned about how to apply it to make measurements of the circle. But yeah, coming back to this Pink Floyd thing. The Artemis crew returned on the 100th day of the year. The dark side of the moon 100. They went to the dark side of the moon, you guys. They took awesome photos, all based in numerology, apparently. And they returned 149 days after the Superior General's birthday, which is interesting because Roger Waters wrote The Dark Side of the Moon. And, you know, Roger Waters also wrote The Wall, which was heavily influenced by World War II. And if you've ever seen the movie that Pink Floyd did about The Wall, it was inspired by the Nazis. Not that they were Nazi sympathizers, but just kind of just showing about the war and the Nazis and the dark side of that. So if you're not familiar with the band Pink Floyd, they also have, a historical connection to the Nazis. And by the way, you should look into the Nazis because the Vatican turned a blind eye to them. And there were a lot of Jesuits that were Nazis, but there was also this Jesuit element that was opposed. And that's why that group tried to kill Hitler on the 201st day of the year. Look it up. Look it up. The more you know. And by the way, here's the 35 craters named after Jesuit priests. Nick Mason. It's kind of interesting just the name Nick Mason, right? Because at the House of the Temple in Washington, D.C., they have a shrine in tribute to the history of the early space program where all of the original astronauts to travel to the moon, so we're told, we're all Masons. Got to keep some secrets, so we need the guys in the secret societies who've taken the oaths. At least that's how it seems to me. But notice, Dark Side of the Moon came out in 1973, right? 73 is the year after the last manned moon mission. Comes out after that, shortly after that. And, the guy whose name is Mason in the band, the mission just happened to end 73 days after his birthday when Mason is 73. And we know how this works, you guys. Just the ritual sacrifices that are connected to all these major historic events that are just happening all the time, and somehow people are overlooking them. I'm pretty sure there's 3 remaining members of Pink Floyd. We got Artemis 3 approaching. I just feel like somebody's number's gonna be up. And again, you learn this study, you start to see the way your number's up. The way it works. Also, Alan Parsons produced The Dark Side of the Moon. Launch just happened to be 103 days after his birthday. Yeah. The mission also ended on the 112 days from his birthday. Pink Floyd 112. For the record, 112 mathematics equals 112. I mean, that's another cool little simple decode. 1 + 1 is 2. That's how this code is. It's addition. This amazing system of addition behind the letters and numbers in this old world practice, which Stu-Nade Dave, he thinks he doesn't need to know about, as this stuff goes on day after day. And seemingly he swallows a lot of lies, hook, line, and sinker. And speaking of which, the one that's really consequential is, Stu-Nade Dave, I used to live next to some twin sisters when I lived in the Seattle area. Twin sisters. They just loved each other. They were inseparable, identical twins. I wish I was their neighbor when Cooties 19 unfolded. I felt terrible the day they called me. Normally, it's weird. We didn't talk for a while. Maybe it was just the whole Cooties 19 thing. It threw people out of their rhythm like it did. Because normally they call me quite often. And you know, I would talk to them. They like keeping up with me. I was their nice younger neighbor who helped them out with, you know, they had these massive trees. I'd help them rake their leaves. If they needed me to get leaves out of their gutter, just any kind of thing, something broke, Zach could come over and help fix it, this type of thing. So I was their very nice neighbor. And they said, when I moved away from there, they said, we're going to miss you. You're the nicest neighbor we ever had. But they were nice ladies. And there was this weird thing. They could never remember my birthday, but they'd always just come over randomly around the time of my birthday without even realizing it and bring me something that just... Anyway, they were nice to live next to. The sad thing is, they called me up one day and they said, hey, Zach, did you get your shot? And I said, I didn't. And I felt bad that I hadn't talked to him because here I was the guy out all over really the place, all over the place, warning people why when this thing came out, why you didn't want it. No, you did not want this. And we'll get to why that was again, because we're going to see how Professor Dave Explains doesn't know about it and seeming, you know, and the thing about Professor Dave Explains is he has a kid who's autistic, right? And he's real close-minded about how that could have been. He doesn't know how it happened. But I think most of us know how it happened. Again, we're not dumb enough to believe the mainstream lies. It's pretty obvious what's going on in this world. Anyway, I didn't want to tell them what I knew when they called. And anyway, to make a long story short, it wasn't long after that one of the twin sisters had a massive heart attack and nearly died. And then her other sister was taking care of her. And the sad thing is the sister who was taking care of the one who nearly died had a massive heart attack and did die, and ironically at her father's birthday party, literally died at her father's birthday party. And now the other sister who's, you know, she's in a bad spot because she's not in good health. She's barely hanging in there. She doesn't work anymore. She essentially lives on welfare, and she's had to move out of her house, and she lives in a trailer park now and is, you know, calls me up probably at least once a month to, you know, sing the blues to me and how much she misses her sister. And she says I'm the only one that really listens to her because everyone tells her she just needs to move on. But yeah, what she also thinks now is, you know, she says, all I can think that what did this to us is those damn shots. And there's a lot of people that think that. My neighbors next door who are the same age as Dave and I, we're both in our early 40s. They were living in Eugene, Oregon, and they wanted to go to Oregon Ducks games. And the only way you could go was proof of you've been poked. They both have heart issues now. And they said it happened very shortly after. And he said the other funny thing is he said he didn't get sick the whole time, but then he got it first and then she got it second. They both got COVID shortly after getting vaccinated. They'd stayed healthy throughout the thing. They got shots to go to the football games. They end up getting COVID for the first time, plus heart issues. And you got Dave out here and other people saying, yeah, it was safe and effective. I just watched you in a stream, Dave. I think it's the same one I'm going to play a clip from, but I'm not going to play the whole damn thing. I'm just going to play the part where you're especially ignorant. One of the people at this Jubilee thing that you're commenting on, you end up saying, she's talking about how somebody's grandma got the shot and then had problems. And then Dave says, well, it sounds like after she got the shot, it sounds like she got COVID. How can you say it's safe and effective? I mean, the thing didn't even work. My sister is the only person in my family who didn't listen to me. She is sick all the time now. She has 4 younger children. She made them all get the shot. The 2 middle ones are sick all the time now. It's the summer. They're out for like a month with the flu. Who the hell gets flu in the summer? Anyway, we could go on more and more about Artemis 1 and 2 and probably what's coming with Artemis 3 and Michael Jackson's death anniversary, but let's just move on to the next thing, the more consequential thing. There's Dave with his long, pointy nose. Here we go.
Can't do it.
It's about the government's trying to kill us. Even Bill Gates had, I think it was kind of like a TED Talk, but he had like, a talk where he said, we need to get the population down, and we're going to do a great job of it. And you know how? Through improving vaccines, because we're going to lower the population that way.
Okay,
and
pause,
you can find it.
Pause. You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
You've been voted out because even the other idiot anti-vaxxers are like, this woman is a fucking moron. Get her out of that chair. Bill Gates is trying to murder everybody. The government is trying to kill us all. Like, what? Like, where does this logic come from? Like, you understand, even if you're like, oh, the evil government and the evil oligarchy, which to an extent, like, yeah, like, sure, there's bad shit, there's bad people at the top. Why would they want to murder everybody when they're trying to subjugate us and profit off of human labor, right? Like, it just fails at every level. Like, everything you say is wrong and also doesn't make any sense.
So what he just said is, it's you just have to wonder, is he really this ignorant? It could be that, or is he literally some kind of shill and misinformation person, which is also very possible. Again, I was taken down and suspended for a week for playing a 30-second clip of his video talking about how dumb numerology is, only to do a 30-minute video of my own showing, the history of numerology and its relevance on many topics. Pretty good video, a lot like this one. Struck down by Dave for copyright. And I just thought, how's this even possible? I mean, this is a guy who just plays other people's videos and responds. I can't do it back to him? What? So it better not happen again. It better not happen again. But yeah, Dave, here's where it comes from. Let's listen to Bill Gates himself, almost 10 years to the day of Cooties 19 showing up in his backyard right after his simulation Event 201, the day of the Military World Games in Wuhan, China, showing up right across from the world's biggest needle, the Space Needle. Here, let's listen to what this guy said. And remember, you guys, think about how many channels I lost just for playing this clip when it mattered in 2020, 2021, 2022. I didn't care. I just kept showing it because it needs to be out there, and I kept getting deleted and censored and suspended. Again, some of us are here only for YouTube money. Some of us are here because we actually care about the world being taken to hell. Dave is here for money. And you can hear it, Dave will show you, he's like, my last video only got 70,000 views. That doesn't pay the bills, so I am not doing a topic like that again. Yours truly, man. I have to work really hard to even get 70,000 views. That's like almost a month's worth of work now, based on what YouTube's done to me, which is a damn shame. Again, had people been listening to yours truly, we would have beat this scamdemic. We wouldn't be suffering from hyperinflation like we now are. And people like my neighbors, who I really regret that I didn't talk to in the time that I was talking to everybody else, I was talking to everybody but them. One of them's nearly dead and one is dead. And there's a lot of these stories. Again, my mom, her neighbor, 16 years old, his girlfriend dropped dead at their house not long after getting the shot. A 16-year-old girl, her heart just stopped. Never heard of anything like that in my life. And now we've heard numerous stories like that ever since this thing happened. But let's listen to what Bill Gates said almost 10 years to the day of Cooties 19 showing up in the backyard.
Numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero.
Oh,
now that's
by the way, if you don't know what Innovating to Zero is about, this TED Talk that he gave, it's about how we need to reduce carbon emissions to zero. And he's saying, one of these things has to get close to zero. And the first one he's going to go over is people. And obviously, he's not saying that we need to take people to zero, but listen to this is his list of ways to reduce the population. And obviously, the thing that he wants to reduce to zero the most is carbon, right? And by the way, if you guys don't know what his proposal is, I know that he was working on it a few years ago. I haven't heard the update. He has this idea of taking all this spent nuclear energy. Actually, you guys should watch this entire TED Talk right here. You should watch this entire TED Talk. He talks about how gas needs to be upwards of $10 a gallon. He talks about how there's a lot of spent uranium nuclear fuel in Russia, Ukraine, and how we need to get that and burn it in the ground. He says that you can build these reactors in the ground and burn the spent fuel, and he says it has the ability to power these cities, massive cities, for 50 to 100 years with zero emissions. There's a lot of things that are interesting in this TED Talk, but here's what we need to hear that the woman was referring to, and Dave was like, what is she even talking about? How dumb is this? Here, let's just listen.
That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
I mean, and the fact that YouTube kept deleting us for playing this clip and calling it misinformation, playing the exact clip. Keep in mind, Bill Gates' father is into eugenics. And just for the record, I'll tell you what happened in 2020. William Henry Gates, that's Bill Gates' full name, and it's also his father's full name. The Bill Gates you probably know as Bill Gates Jr. His father has the same name. His father died on the 258th day of the year in 2020, which was a leap year. It was the same day that Mark Zuckerberg, another puppet on the world stage, bought up REI's outdoor complex in the Seattle Bellevue area where Bill Gates is. I thought it was quite symbolic. REI's the outdoor sporting goods store. We were on lockdown. Bill Gates' father's dead, who was into eugenics. But yeah, just a little perfect ritual. You know, Bill Gates is the co-sponsor of Event 201, the coronavirus pandemic simulation. By the way, you should watch Event 201. 65 million people die in the simulation. 65. It was given, the simulation was done October 18th, 2019, the day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. That was 65 days from Melinda Gates' birthday, August 15th. That's the same birthday as the Jesuit order, and you can look into Melinda Gates, her Jesuit priest of an uncle that she's talked about. The Jesuits from France. Melinda's middle name is Melinda French Gates. Remember what day they say the first case of coronavirus was confirmed in the world outside of mainland China? It was the 15th of January, 15/1. Bill and Melinda got married right after Bill's 38th birthday. They got married January 1st, 94. I wrote in my book, Number Games. By the way, Dave, let me know. I can send you a free copy, or if you want to buy it, just go on here, type in Zachary K. Hubbard. This book, it did save a lot of people's lives. It accurately forecasted when the scamdemic would end. I had this written in the middle of 2020. I said why it would end when the year of the tiger came around. And it used to have, have even more than 823 reviews. Amazon actually took away a bunch of reviews. And I thought, why did they take away reviews? They didn't take away any of the troll reviews. There's some false troll reviews. I have a 1-star review that says, this guy doesn't even know that Joe Biden was the 46th president. This book came out before Joe Biden was the president. I could have wrote about Joe Biden because I told everybody before the book came out why they were going to install Joe Biden as number 46. 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, in light of the sacrifice of Beau Biden at age 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday, and how that was the 59th election, like Pope Francis equals 59, and so does John F. Kennedy, who was killed at 46. But anyway, in the book, I talked about Biden being the 47th vice president, which he was, took office with Obama at 47. Anyway, this book right here, real life-saving stuff, and the kind of stuff that gets you shadow banned and deleted and lied about. And again, we got people like you, Dave, who get promoted because you're doing the work of an evil cabal. You're acting like this stuff doesn't exist. That Bill Gates didn't go on stage and talk about how we can reduce the human population and start off with vaccines. By the way, you know another thing we did with this? We made a lot of money, actually, on May 7th. I called it about 2 months before it happened. You see how Bill Gates equals 57, just like vaccine? See how they both equal 57? Bill Gates, vaccine. I predicted in the middle of March that on May 7th, the Moderna stock was going to skyrocket. You should go back and look and see how it skyrocketed on May 7th. That was the day the federal government approved it for phase 2 testing. And why did I pick Moderna? Because Bill Gates endorsed it, and I saw that it was founded by 2 Jesuits, including one born on the 201st day of the year. How about that? Numerology's stupid, huh, Dave? We've called a million futures over here, sports, elections. I had Trump to win in 2016, in 2015 at 50-1 odds. Dave, what are you calling over there, buddy? You're talking about history's past like it didn't happen. You can't even understand the past because you haven't done any research. That's what I mean. You're as dumb as a flat earther. Listen to what you just said about that woman's comment. She didn't quite articulate it as well as she should have. But you should know about these things. You should know about these things. You go on the internet on your high horse all the time about how smart you are and how there's all these dangerous people online that could get people killed, making us dumber, making society more dangerous. You're that person too. You're that person. My neighbors, one nearly dead, one dead, they were listening to people like you, Dave. YouTube makes people like you show up in the feed. They make people like me disappear. It's not because you're the good guy. These companies, Google, which celebrates its birthday on September 27th, the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church. For the record, that's the day leaving 95 days left in the year, like they were created to counter the 95 Theses, the Protestant Reformation. Has to do with Martin Luther King Jr. getting killed on the 95th day of the year and the nation's first gun control legislation coming 201 days later. That's another thing I've seen about Dave. Dave's another one of these anti-Second Amendment guys. Yeah, Dave. So anyway, Dave, here's another thing. You're in California, Dave. When Gavin Newsom locked down California, look up his quote, because I know exactly what he said. Gavin Newsom, Jesuit educated at Santa Clara, just like everybody was the face of the pandemic's Jesuit educated. He said 56% of California will get coronavirus in 8 weeks. 56% in 8 weeks. Here, for the record, Gavin Newsom. Let me write out Gavin Newsom and coronavirus. The first governor to lock down his state. Can we see the parallels here? Can we see the 155 in both? Can we see the 56 in both? Can we see the 142 in both? All of these numbers were used all over the ritual. For the record, Gavin Newsom's also 52, just like California. Another prominent Catholic, Jesuit-educated California politician, Nancy Pelosi, 52nd Speaker of House, California 52, government 52, et cetera, et cetera. But again, this right here. Dave, does the 155 thing stand out to you? Do you remember when Trump declared Operation Warp Speed, a.k.a. the moonshot? It was 2 days before Reed Wiseman's wife died and now has a crater named after her on the moon. He did it on the 15th of May. And do you know what the 15th of May is? It's Mercuralia. Mercuralia. And just for the record, Mercuralia. Do you see the 70 up there? Just for the record, 70, just like coronavirus. All of these numbers got used over and over in the ritualism. For the record, the number 56 is the number 70 in base 8 counting as well, which is interesting. But yeah, all of these numbers got used a million times in ritualism, and 56 is the one that got used the most. You know, Anthony Fauci, who very much became the face of the pandemic, Jesuit educated, went to Holy Cross. January 10th, 2017, at the Pandemic Preparedness Conference at Georgetown. Here, just for people who don't know, Washington, D.C., where Georgetown is. 56. George Washington was at the tail end of being 56 when Georgetown was established. He turned 57 just in time for Inauguration Day. Georgetown, 57, like Rome, like all roads lead to Rome, like D.C. was called Rome on the Potomac, like D.C.'s the land of Roman architecture. But yeah, Anthony Fauci. I can't remember how they spelled Fauci, ouchie, but remember they started calling that if you got your shot, you call it a Fauci, ouchie. That spelling's 56. Just everything. Remember how the toilet paper sold out for coronavirus? Remember that one? Toilet paper. The other day we had a toilet paper warehouse burn up on the 99th day of the year. Don't even get me started. You know that's some kind of symbolic thing for what's happening with our money and inflation. Some other sick ritual, just like the United States of America equals 99, and it was named on 99, and this nation's full of shit, which is associated with toilet paper. And just for the record, shit's 56 too, and most people swallow the shit hook, line, and sinker every day from the mainstream. But yeah, this 56 thing, it goes back to the formal title of the Jesuits, Society of Jesus. And remember, Trump's Jesuit education at Fordham began in 1964. The pandemic was declared in 2020, 56 years from his Jesuit education beginning. He waited to declare the state of emergency for the U.S., for cooties, for Friday, March 13th, 2020. The date numerology path was 3 plus 13 plus 20 plus 20, which is 56. 56 breaks down to 11, the master number in numerology, like the 11 of March, the day the pandemic was declared. They loved their 11s, the master plans with the master numbers. Andrew Cuomo, he became like the father of America. He was on TV every day. He went to Fordham, the Jesuit university like Trump in New York. Cuomo was the 56th governor of New York. If you had CNN on, Chris Cuomo was on every day talking about Cooties 19, and he even went on there live for a week with Cooties 19, wearing a sweatshirt every day that was all sweaty. It's like, I got Cooties 19. Look how sweaty I am. I'm in my gray sweatshirt today. It's really sweaty over here. I have Cooties 19. And Dave, can you confirm if it's true or not? In 1968, was a scientific periodical written in 1968 about coronavirus being seasonal flu? Because it was. Look it up, Dave. Dave, look it up. was coronavirus coined as seasonal flu in 1968. And can we go back to the time of Cooties 19, where you were on there telling everybody to do exactly what the TV was telling them to do, getting a lot of views for it as well, getting paid a lot of money to do it as well? While they would literally tell you that flu cases were way down and coronavirus cases were way up, and that went on every single night. Flu cases way down, coronavirus. I was like, man, if people only knew that we're getting locked down for seasonal flu. In 1968, Dave, that's the year that fentanyl was approved by the FDA. Oh yeah. Dave. So sorry. I forgot to address a main thing here. Why would they be trying to get rid of population? They want to collect taxes and stuff. Yeah, that's an argument. But are you aware of names like Henry Kissinger, Dave? Henry Kissinger, who, 50 years ago began hosting conferences about the need for depopulation. Have you ever looked into the 1968 book? 1968 book, The Population Bomb, written by a Yale professor about the need to depopulate. Interesting. So there's actually been calls for decades for the need for depopulation to save the earth. Dave, if they have the data and the science that there really is a problem, I'm sure they would like to collect tax revenue, but I'm sure at the end of the day, like everybody, they'd like to survive. And maybe, they don't want to let the cat out of the bag all the way, and they just want to trick people into, getting 86th right out of here. Here, go fight in a war that's unnecessary. Here, get hooked on fentanyl. Here, get hooked on Percocet 30s and shake to death on the street like a lot of kids are doing. Dave? What do you mean depopulation? Where are you dummies getting these ideas from? Oh, I don't know. Just the world leaders talking about it for the better part of the last century. Bill Gates going on the stage of the TED Talk and talking about the need for depopulation, and we can do it if we do a good job with the old... I don't know, Dave. I don't know. Maybe you know about this if earlier in the stream he was advocating that he supports YouTube censoring people. Maybe if YouTube hadn't censored people showing that clip over and over and deleted their whole channel for showing it, maybe it would have made it to your eardrums, Dave. Maybe you'd start to realize what happened to your own child who has autism. Hey, in 2012, Dave, didn't Google delete everybody on YouTube who was sharing the stories? And there were thousands, is probably an understatement. All the parents who had videos online sharing their stories, largely spearheaded by Jenny McCarthy, who had the same story, about how their child was around 2, and they went out and they got that MMR, and all of a sudden their child drastically changed. And the mainstream science wants to say, oh, you just didn't pick up on the signs. It just became abundantly clear the day after the shot. And Dave, I heard you say that the only people that have these ideas are people online. Dave, why don't you look up who I am? My name is Zach Hubbard. Call this place called Sunrise Services in Everett, Washington, and say, was there a Zach Hubbard that used to work there that used to manage your autistic children's program? And you'll find out the answer to that question. If I don't know, maybe because of HIPAA and stuff, they can't share it, but I did. I used to manage an autistic children's home, Dave, in Everett, Washington, just north of Seattle. And you know what? There were a lot of parents there that had the same story as Jenny McCarthy, and a lot of other parents who share the exact same story online that Google decided to take down all of in 2012. And what's that ingredient that gets called into question over and over again in the jabs? Isn't it Mercury? Isn't it Mercury? And it's funny how they declared Operation Warp Speed the moonshot on Mercuralia. And isn't Mercury the trickster? And isn't it funny how April 1st fell on a Wednesday, the day of the week named after Mercury? Speaking of which, I meant to make that point too, since he likes RFK Jr. so much. Let me see if I can pull this up here. RFK Jr. Mercury. I want to go back to when RFK Jr. gave his first press conference. Oh my God. Wow, look at that. It's almost a year ago today. Look at this, you guys. So on the 106th day of the year, RFK Jr. came out and said environmental toxins cause autism. So what a story for the 106th day of the year, right? But notice it was a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday. And again, Mercury equals 86. It was 86 days into the administration. Is mercury an environmental toxin, Dave? Isn't it one of the most common environmental toxins because of all the burning of coal? Other fossil fuels? I've heard scientists say that there's not a speck of this earth that isn't contaminated to some degree with mercury. And what did we learn about in school, Dave? I mean, when we were in school, we learned the nursery rhyme and story about the Mad Hatter and how it messes with your brain. Would you say that autism, something's messed with the children's brain? I mean, you have an autistic child in your home. You have an autistic child in your home. Dave, you'd say I'm an idiot. My daughter doesn't have any shots. My daughter, no ear infections. She's been super healthy. And I know you'd say, well, she's healthy because of all the great work of polio and the Jonas Salk and all this. By the way, Dave, do you know that Bill Gates has the same birthday as Jonas Salk? Do you know that on the day that Jonas Salk turned 42, Dave? On the day that Jonas Salk turned 42, Bill Gates celebrated his first birthday, and Elvis, who would eventually die at 42, got his polio shot on live TV. And by the way, that was in the year 56. And don't forget, Tom Hanks, born in 56, was the first celebrity with the virus while filming the Elvis movie. And again, just all this ritualism that really just comes into focus. Why they chose that celebrity. And don't forget Bill Gates, or not Bill Gates, but Tom Hanks. Oh, actually, Tom Hanks and Bill Gates do have a connection. There's a movie that's 2 hours and 1 minute called Inferno from the Da Vinci Code series about the Illuminati that came out on Bill Gates' birthday, about a billionaire depopulating the world with a virus and vaccine. Don't forget Amazon remade the show. Bill Gates' buddy there, Jeff Bezos, remade the show Utopia about billionaires depopulating the world with a fake pandemic and a vaccine. Netflix also added the show, God, what was it called? It's just a single word. Right at the pandemic, you guys, Netflix added a show about the government unleashing a virus in a town to experiment. It kills everybody over age 22. And the medical building in the show is Building 201. I go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, this RFK, again, Dave, to say this stuff is dumb and like flat earth, you're an idiot. This is what they do every day. Every day. It's like this, Dave. Fuck you, Dave. Fuck you, Dave. That's the government to you and everybody else. Student aid, Dave. Fuck you, Dave. Fuck you. Just like that every day, Dave. Every day. Every day. Remember the 1800s definition of Jesuits again? Trickery and deception. Mercury, the trickster. Trump on Mercuralia, the orange clown. He's got the moonshot, Operation Warp Speed. Too bad all those videos from 2012 Google got out of here with censorship, with all the parents telling their own story, a story told all across the world millions of times and not just online, you asshole. Dave, is it possible that you're such a pathetic man that you can't admit that your poor decisions are the reason your child has autism? Because I bet that's exactly what it is. I'd bet everything on it. In the information age, you should have known better. You trusted too much in the bullshit science. It's not to say that science is bullshit, but there's a lot of bullshit science because there's a lot of big money corrupting science. We both know that's true. Come on, Dave. The woman died 2 days after the moonshot, Mr. Wiseman's wife. Don't even get me started. There's more to it, but I don't know, honestly, if you can keep up, Dave. You're smart in some regards, but in other places, you're just dumb as rocks. You want to know another funny thing they did with RFK Jr.? They began his swearing in process on the beginning of the Year of the Snake. And you got to see this. You got to see this stuff for a guy who thinks all this is so dumb. The Year of the Snake. Oh yeah, RFK Jr. was also confirmed 666 days after his announcement that he was running for president. Yeah, that was cute. Damn, where is my post? Sometimes I think I did a written post, but I only did a video on it. It might have been one where I only did the video. Let me see if it's in here. Because it's a good one. It's a good one. By the way, Dave, do you know that the sister simulation to Event 201 was Clade X? Clade X was given May 15th, 2018, 2 years to the day of Operation Warp Speed. Just for the record, Clade X has that 113 in it, a lot like the day the pandemic was declared, 11th of March. And just so you can see it with your own eyes, May 15th, 2018, the day of Clade X, to March 11th, 2020, 666 days. This is called Sumerian gematria right here. This is multiplying the alphabetic order times 6. V is the 22nd letter using the alphabetic order. 22 times 6 is 132. A is 6. Very interesting cipher, very relevant cipher. Another troll on the world stage who broadcasts in the Masonic Temple. Jimmy Kimmel's made fun of this cipher on his show. It's really nothing to make fun of. I'm sure, Dave, you're aware of Revelation 13. About, the mark of the beast, the number of the beast, 666, and the story of how you have to accept it if you want to buy or sell. Can you see the play on this? What happened in the time of the pandemic? A lot of people, if they wanted to go to school or keep their job or go to a football game or get on an airplane or travel abroad, pretty much participate in society, they had to comply with a shot for the seasonal flu that was rushed out in record time, including by companies like Moderna, who'd never made a shot before. I start to worry about people when they think it's all just a coincidence. Dave might go, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. Well, you know what, Dave? There are people who do. And there's people who use the scripture as the script every day. And who they are the ones who've named all those craters on the moons after themselves. The same Jesuits who were the face of the pandemic across the board. The same ones that have a lot to do with the history of NASA. By the way, 35 Jesuit priests. It's been said that the Jesuits are closer to a satanic order by their critics than anything of God. And it's been said that they're wolves in sheep's clothing. About 35 craters on the moon being named after them, and NASA equaling 35. Just for the record, Satan is 35. There's a lot of tributes to Satan. MAGA's the highest degree of the Church of Satan. Obama invited Trump to the White House Correspondents' Dinner on the 45th birthday of the Church of Satan, which is also 45 days before Trump's birthday every year, April 30th to June 14th. And he told the joke that Trump would become the 45th president, only for Trump to run on MAGA, the highest degree of the Church of Satan. And watch out, because Trump's about to turn 80. And, Ronald Reagan's adoptive son, Michael Reagan. And don't forget, Ronald Reagan used to live at 666 with little Michael when he was adopted. But Michael Reagan died at the start of the year at age 80, just before Trump's 80th birthday. Marilyn Manson, an honorary member of the Church of Satan, put out the song Say 10 the day of the 2016 election, as we got Mr. Mega. And don't forget who told you we were getting Mr. Mega. The day of the first debate in 2015, and don't forget number 45 on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, as he trails Reagan, the other mega guy, the other Hollywood actor who said, tear down that wall, and Trump said, build that wall. Now we get Mr. Border Wall back as number 47, too, when Border Wall's 47 like Trump. Anyway, I wanted to find this RFK Jr. thing, but here's the deal. You can look all this up. July 2nd, 2024, RFK Jr. put out a video on 7/2 called The Snake. And it's interesting because RFK Jr. equals 72. He's also Jesuit educated. He went to Georgetown Prep. RFK Jr. 72. Year of the Snake 72. It's also 153 like Jesuit order. Jesuit order 153.72. But go back. RFK Jr., when they began his, the process of getting questioned and grilled. Go back and watch because it's still all online. You can watch it on the C-SPAN channel without any advertisements. Watch how many times he gets grilled on questioning the vaccine schedule of 72 shots for children. Over and over and over, they keep bringing it up. And from what I understand, he's reduced it. I don't know if it's actually been changed medically, but I know he's moved to reduce the amount of shots. And Dave, since you and I are the same age, and you and I have a very similar life experience, I'm 2 days older than you. When we grew up in school, we never heard of peanut allergies. Everybody ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There weren't signs everywhere that said this is a peanut-free zone, okay? There wasn't any little Jimmies accidentally getting a whiff of peanut and their head turning into a blue balloon, which I've seen happen. I used to be a elementary school teacher, and sadly I use the name Jimmy because that's the kid I saw it happen to. It was the worst thing ever. I thought his head was going to explode in front of me. It was just the worst thing ever. But he got the epinephrine shot, and it was fine, but it was just horrible to witness. It's like, oh my God. I mean, it was like helium was in his head. Hey, have you seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when the girl turns into the blue blueberry thing, the original one? Poor Jimmy's head. It was just the worst thing. And he was just the sweetest kid, too. But this stuff didn't exist. Nobody had peanut allergies. Nobody was worried about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And the thing is, when Dave and I were kids, this wasn't the schedule. There was a lot less shots. And our parents got a lot less shots. And what pisses me off about people like Dave is, you know, he can talk to his parents, and his parents, no doubt, were from that generation where if somebody got measles, everyone went over to that person's house because they wanted to catch measles to just get over it. They'd have a measles party, a real thing. That's what our parents' generation did. Whoever got measles, everybody went over there to catch the measles so they could get it and get over it. Now, oh my God, measles. Oh no, measles. Fucking HBO, Jesuit-run HBO, their little hospital show, home box office, 5472, just like Jesuit order. HBO, 56, like Society of Jesus, their little hospital show that comes out on 35 Thursday every week. If you guys don't know, 35 Thursday, it's all 35 rituals across everything, news and sports every week. The Pit 35 on 35 Thursday, HBO's Catholic Jesuitism special. Actually, I'm going to be honest. I like the show. I just hate when they have the little propaganda things. And by the way, you should learn Gematria because it's hilarious. When somebody comes in with a diagnosis and they're like, send them to a room number, I'm telling you guys, just pull out your Gematria calculator and decode. You'll be like, holy shit, man. They're doing the room numbers that go with the injuries. This is crazy. But that's what they do in Hollywood all day, every day. Anyway, the point is that show is always just making a big effing deal about people who question mainstream science. Listen, don't get me wrong. The world of medicine, there's a lot of amazing things to it, but also, you guys, there's a lot of bullshit there, and there's a lot of things doctors don't know, like about nutrition. And, you know, hey, my brother-in-law, who's a doctor, he's been fighting cancer now for the last 3 years, and I'm pretty sure he got these turbo cancers, which a lot of people have gotten in the time of post-Cooties 19 shots. He's probably regretting it. He's probably wishing he took some advice from his brother-in-law, who's just healthy as everything over here, you know? But, yeah, just, I mean, you guys, there's a lot of money being made off us as guinea pigs for the medical world. And here, I'm even, you know what? I'm going to make the point again. That this point goes a lot harder. How much time do I got? I got to pick up my daughter in about 15 minutes. Hold on. Google says there's a security alert. It looks like somebody is misusing my stream. Are we still going here? I got some Google security alert that says, are we still going? Can somebody in the chat let me know if we're still live? I don't see anybody saying anything in the chat, so I don't know if we are live. All right, we're still here. Okay, I don't know what this is about. This is Google security alert. Here, about being used as medical guinea pigs. Let's do this right. Let's do this right. I'm going to have a little build up to this. I want to talk about the first black woman being appointed to the head of the CDC yesterday. Schwartz, which means black in German. Those damn Nazis. They're endless jokes. Okay. So if you're new here, yesterday you had Justin Fairfax supposedly kill his wife and himself on the 106th day of the year. Think of BET's 106 in part. You had the first black woman appointed to the head of the CDC. You had David, the singer, arrested on suspicion of murdering a girl. You had Garrett Anderson die at 53, like Jackie Robinson. And for the record, Robinson equals 106 as well, like Black Lives Matter, like I Can't Breathe. Remember last year, the World Series began on the 53rd death anniversary of Jackie Robinson, who died at 53. Los Angeles picked up the 53rd World Series win for the NL. 53 is the 16th prime. Garrett Anderson, dead at 53 on the 16th, who wore 16 for the Angels and finished his career at the Dodgers. Anyway, all this stuff went down yesterday by the numbers. We spent all of yesterday talking about it. But this Rodney King thing, too. Hold on. Why is it not pulling up this post? I'm going to come back to the post about the black woman being appointed. I just want to... Why? I don't understand what's going on here. Did I not put a title on this post? Here. This also happened yesterday, you guys, or it was in the news yesterday. The NYPD beat the wrong black man. And again, NYPD has the 59 code, like slave, like Negro, like Rasta, like blues, like Trump wanted to execute the Central Park Five. All of this stuff, again, Justin Fairfax equals 59. The CDC's in Atlanta, Georgia, 59. Garrett Anderson played for the Los Angeles Angels, 59, and on and on and on. If you're new here, I've educated about this. I wrote a book about this a decade ago. The racial shaming and killing of black people by the 59 code. The 106 thing also factors in. Rodney King's another 59 in history. Think about it. A rod, like a police baton. King, like MLK. A psychological operation. But they said this man that was wrongfully beat by the NYPD, which was yesterday's news on the 106th day of the year with everything else. Again, they had to... The beating was on Lincoln's Lincoln's anniversary of getting shot, who freed the slaves, but they made the news yesterday. And notice the day he was beat, April 14th, it was 42 days after the anniversary of the Rodney King beating. Rodney King, who was born on 4/2 and who also died at age 47, supposedly from a drowning, another racial stereotype. And again, they said the man who got wrongfully beat is Tim Brown. And that's weird because the last thing that just happened in New York, where Jessica Tisch, whose father runs the New York Giants, the last thing Jessica Tisch was just talking about was the man who called himself Lucifer, who stabbed all the people with a machete in the subway. Remember, stabbing equals 74, like Lucifer, like Raiders. They left a Raiders blanket there. That was in all the photos of the story. And last year, you had the NFL headquarters shot where Jessica Tisch was on the scene and the guy drove from Las Vegas. All of this is ritualism. It's a lot to explain, but anyway, all this 42 business yesterday, 42 days after the anniversary of the beating of the Rodney King, this happens. These are psyops. And again, they're put down by this code, and that is the value of this knowledge, seeing through this stuff every single day. Justin Fairfax, who we used in 2019 to call Virginia to win the championship because he was accused of raping a woman while he was a student at Duke the day Duke played Virginia. And we said, well, look at that. Justin Fairfax equals 59, the slave code, the championships in 59 days. They use these black athletes to make a lot of money for the wealthy slave masters, if you will. Sure enough, Virginia wins the championship 59 days later. Justin Edward Fairfax, his full name equals 87. The 87th March Madness just ended. He went to Duke. Duke gave up a 19-point lead. He's dead 19 days later and supposedly killed his wife. He's dead at 47, just before Trump's upcoming birthday, number 40. Anyway, also on this same day, and again, they had these stories paired up here at the same time on the 106th day of the year yesterday. Justin Fairfax and his wife, and the first black woman to head the CDC. Look at this. Her name on her Wikipedia, Erica G. Schwartz. Reminds me of the Church of the Jesuit and the Masons, who are created by the Jesuits, who have the headquarters at the Jesuit. But anyway, CDC 71, like Erica G. Schwartz, like African American, like the CDC's birthday is 71. Look at this. Again, appointed 76 days before the CDC's birthday. 59 days before Trump's birthday. Over and over, this same code, you guys. Slave, Negro, Blues, Rasta, all 59. Motown out in 59. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. Run it in reverse. Slave, Negro, Blues, Rasta, all 76. When did the feds recognize Black History Month? In 1976. Who's the first black president? Barack Obama. After the psyop of Osama and Saddam Hussein. Barack Hussein Obama. But Barack Obama, 76. Also look at the 68 in his name, you guys. I mean, who got killed on 4/4 and 68? Wasn't that MLK as he becomes number 44, 44 years after the Civil Rights Act? What was Obama's Secret Service name? Renegade. Renegade, 59. What was his book that got a lot of attention there in recent years? A Promised Land, 59 and 76. What day did they put that out? Oh, on the day leaving 44 days left in the year, 106 days after his birthday. It plays on prophecy from the Bible, which is another 106 word. Using the scripture as the script. So anyway, clearly put in by this slave code is the first black woman on the day that all these other seemingly horrible things happen to black people. It should remind you, by the way, and the CDC is in Atlanta, Georgia, 59, a predominantly black city. Again, Justin Fairfax is dead on the 59th day of his age, 59 days before Trump's birthday. The Los Angeles Angels player is dead in tribute to Jackie Robinson, who came up from the Negro Leagues. And you see how Robinson's 47? He was called up in 47. This happened 59 days before Trump's birthday. Negro 59. Negro's also 32 like Barack Obama. And don't forget, when Obama announced he was running for president, I just want you to see how Obama and Slave are 14 and 31. You know, David is the singer's being accused of killing a 14-year-old girl. The one guy's beat on the 14th. The video comes out. None of this is an accident. Beaten in the time on the anniversary of Lincoln's getting shot, who led to the 14th Amendment. But yes, Obama announced he was running for president February 10th, 2007, literally 31 years to the day of the feds recognizing Black History Month. And they didn't recognize it at the start of the month or the end of the month. They recognized it on 10/2, the 10th of February, in tribute to slavery, just like the American Civil War began April 12th, the 102nd day of the year. Stuff's not an accident. Goes on every single year. That psyop with the social media influencer, black woman killed by her white boyfriend or fiance, her name equals 59, killed on 59 date numerology. Her parents speak out on April 12th, the 102nd day of the year, dressed in all white on a white couch with a white backdrop, with a picture of zebras next to their black daughter and the white fiance. I mean, just psyops all day on TV, occult mockery, stuff that Dave would be like, I didn't see it. Dave, don't talk about things you don't know about. Dave would say, well, science is more important. Okay, you know what? I would argue with you that, or I would agree with you that science is more important than numerology, but it's important to understand this is how our government operates every single day as they extend the latest, fuck you, Dave. Fuck you, Dave, and everybody else every day. Every day, dumbass. Every day, dumbass. Every fucking day. And if you're just watching this for the first time, be like, well, I don't know if this happens every year. Pay the fuck attention, because I'm here educating about it every fucking day, every fucking year. That's why I wrote a book about it a long time ago, exposing all these patterns, explaining this, and then just watching it go on day after day, year after year. It's amazing that everyone hasn't caught on. But then again, it's because we've been deleted a million times and shadow banned. And all these disinformation agents out here. But yeah, anyway, let me come back to the point. Medical experimentation, slavery, black woman. Dave, who was the first person to get the Cooties 19 shot in the United States? Was it a black woman named Sandy Lindsay on December 14th? What happened on December 14th? Was there a different type of shot thing on December 14th? Was it at a school established in 1956? Was the shooting in 2012, 56 years later? So now we're getting this thing, coronavirus 56, COVID vaccine as they referred to it, right? 56. Do you remember how Kobe died right as all this was getting underway in Corona Del Mar, another 56? Remember this? Supposedly he died. Remember this? You know, all the NBA finals in the time of Cooties were all about 56. LA Lakers 56, beat the Miami Heat 56. The Bucks won the finals 56. It's just a joke. It's a joke. But anyway. And by the way, don't forget who told you that LeBron was going to win the Lakers their 17th chip in his 17th season the day he came over from Ohio, the 17th state, on the first day of the 7th month. Don't forget who told you that. Yeah, we got to call a lot of futures off understanding this numerology thing. But, yeah, the shooter there, if you need more help, his name was this, Adam Peter Lanza. Yeah, 56. They said he weighed 112 pounds. You know that? They had to say he weighed 112 pounds. His birthday is April 22nd, the 112th day of the year. His initials A.L. A is the first letter, L's the 12th. It was compared to the Dune Blaine Massacre. Here, let me show you something about the Dune Blaine Massacre and how all this stuff just fits together so nicely. Dune Blaine Massacre got gun rights taken away in the UK. It was a leap year that year. It happened on the 73rd day of the year. Remember, sacrifice is 73. Children sacrificed so that gun rights could be sacrificed, rights and liberties sacrificed. But yeah, Newtown. Or hold on. Uh-oh. I know what it is. I know what the 73 is. It's Newtown, Connecticut's coordinates. It's on the 73rd meridian. Newtown on the 73rd meridian. But yeah, I mean, here's the greater point. March 13th, 1996 to December 14th, 2012. See how many months this is, Dave? 201 months in a day. 201, huh? Event 201 was the simulation. There's 201 things all over our nation's history, guys, from the beginning up to now. Again, it's the Jesuits. It's the Jesuits. They venerate this number. All these major psychological operations, all these things, filling up the horizons of your mind, got 201 on them. The Twin Towers became 0 before they became 1. World Trade Center. The Georgetown motto, both into one. The population bomb, which came out in 1968. By the way, World Trade Center construction began in 1968. 911 made the National Emergency Dialing Code in 1968. George W. Bush graduated from Yale and School and Bones in 1968. 2001: A Space Odyssey came out in 1968. Boeing debuted their jumbo jetliners in 1968. Seattle, very important to the World Trade Centers. Magnuson Klemenko Associates, the engineering firm out of there, helped build the World Trade Centers. The man who designed the World Trade Centers, a Japanese-American from Seattle. Kamikaze pilots, Japan. The new Pearl Harbor. World Trade Center, Pentagon construction began September 11, 1941, just for Pearl Harbor. The mockery. All the angles you can hit it from. So many more things we could get into, but I just had something slip through my brain that I thought would be a good closing point. In and out, just like that. Yeah, it's just, you can go on and on and on, and morons will say, well, that's what numbers do. They just make patterns and you can just shut up. These are perfectly executed world domination plans by the same damn code, by the same damn patterns, bringing the same numbers together. Here. Since Dave's a big Trump guy, let's close it out right here. I went to a QAnon rally, not because I've ever been a Q person. By the way, QAnon has the 201 connection. I went to a QAnon rally to expose what was wrong with QAnon people. It was actually April 19th, 2020 in Washington State. And armed security would not let me on the stage for the open mic because they saw what I had done to a group of people just speaking to them about this ritual I'm going to share with you with Trump. And it really got a lot of people to stop and listen and think twice because they were there thinking Trump was the anointed one. And the deep state was trying to take him down with the lockdowns. Oh, no, that's not what was going on at all. Not even close. Let's see if I can just pull this up here. I want you to see what Trump was doing. Oh yeah, Trump did address the World Economic Forum 6 years to the day. Here we go. Boom. Look how perfect this stuff is, you guys. So from Trump's birthday, if you don't know this, look this up. The day that cooties was confirmed in the U.S., the day that it was the breaking news, Trump was over in Switzerland at the World Economic Forum. And by the way, look at what I showed you what Bill Gates said at the TED Talk. Bill Gates was at the World Economic Forum. I can't remember if it was like 2 days before his TED Talk or 2 days after, but they were pretty much at the same time. And Bill Gates declared a decade of vaccines. And he pledged $10 billion and said in 10 years, we are going to push to vaccinate everybody in this world. That was almost again, 10 years to the day of the first case of cooties being confirmed in his backyard in Seattle, the land of the Space Needle. But here's Trump. And Trump's at the World Economic Forum on the day that cooties is being confirmed in the U.S., gloating about his trade deal with China, saying the world will never be the same again. And everybody should look up the Event 201 simulation from October 18th, 2019. It was a tribute to Satan. Luke 10:18, that's where Satan comes to earth. Remember Lil Nas X, he put out the Satan shoes, 666 pairs with real blood in the soles, with Luke 10:18 written on them. It was around the same time as all this pandemic crap was going on. But, yeah, Trump's at the World Economic Forum, which was the main sponsor of Event 201, and it was sponsored in New York. But he's gloating about his trade deal with China and how the world will never be the same again. And everybody can look up Event 201. 2 CDCs in the world participated, the US CDC and the Chinese CDC. And by the way, the guy who founded the CDC, his name equals 201. Go figure. Again, like I said, this 201 thing, it's all throughout history. But look at this. From Trump's birthday to speaking at the World Economic Forum was 222 days into his age. World Economic Forum 222. You see how it's 7 months and 8 days as well? I just want to write this out here. Do you see the 7-8 as well? The pandemic was declared 78 days after Fauci's birthday. You know, he's also Jesuit educated. Again, he went to Holy Cross, whereas Trump went to Fordham. Jesuit 78. Order Out of Chaos is 78. The list goes on. So, anyway, I was explaining this to these QAnon people on their turf at their rally, and it was interesting how they started sending instigators to try and break it up. And, yeah. Anyway, look at it. World Economic Forum 222, Wuhan Coronavirus 222, New York 222, Event 201, the simulation 222, Order Out of Chaos 222. And let me see, did I put it in here? Oh, yeah, Davos is where the World Economic Forum is. It's interesting how similar it is to Seattle, Washington. Bill and Melinda getting married on the first day of 94. Seattle in 94 is just a huge thing, just nonstop. Kurt Cobain died 94 days after they got married, which was also 206 days before Bill Gates' birthday in the 206 area code. And don't forget, Nirvana has to do with Buddhism, and they found his body on the most holy day of the Buddhist year. Bill Gates equals 87, Buddhist, Nirvana, founded in 87. Bill Gates met Melinda in 87. It's sick how they do all this stuff. Kurt Cobain dies. He was the biggest celebrity in the Seattle area, the rock scene, the grunge scene at the time. Bill Gates becomes the biggest celebrity in 94. And there was a lot of 94 too with the whole pandemic, but this 222 thing. Again, September 11th, 2001. 2 towers become 0 before they become 1. Now we got Event 201 in the pandemic. September 11, 2001 to March 11, 2020 is 222 months. On the nose. On the nose. Wuhan Coronavirus, Order Out of Chaos, New York. Again, the Event 201 simulation was in New York. Put on by the World Economic Forum, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the Johns Hopkins University. And there were a number of participating corporations and, pharmaceutical companies and some banks. It's, you know what, if you guys blew, I told you guys for years to watch the Clade-X simulation. They kept it online. They took it down about 2 months ago, finally, Clade-X. The Event 201 simulation is still up. They were sister simulations done in the same format with the same, fake news broadcaster. I have some of the Clade-X stuff documented in old videos. I think I'd have to re-upload them since my channel's been deleted so many times. But, yeah, watch Event 201 before you can't watch that anymore either. So, if you think all this stuff's a coincidence, again, you're just stupid. These are the events that have shaped the 21st century and have done what they've done to humanity. I'm sure even Professor Dave Explains would agree. And again, I'm being nice to call you that, Student Dave, my little brother, my lesser. Look at children of the world today. Nearly half of children are obese. This is all because of these agendas, scaring the shit out of everyone. Everyone's so afraid of everything. Technology. All things are good and bad. There's a double-edged sword. All these electronic signs on the overpass scaring the shit out of everybody. Amber alerts from thousands of miles away that just trigger one thought in a mom's head. I'm not going to let my child go out tonight. I'm going to keep them in front of the TV so they can get fatter and dumber. That's what's going on all over this country. Fear, fear, fear. And again, you look at all this stuff, every day the fear is controlled by the code. And, I don't think I ever heard Dave once call out that, in 1968, Corona was coined a seasonal flu, which it was. I do got to show you one more thing they did in my home state of Oregon, where I'm from originally. I want you to see how sick it is. Again, fentanyl was approved by the FDA in 1968, just like coronavirus coined a seasonal flu that year. Again, the population bomb came out that year. Dave said, where are you getting this stuff about people want to depopulate? I don't know, from all over the place. I want you to see how sick this is, Dave. This is sick. This is sick. On March 8th, the governor of Oregon, and this was in a leap year. This is 2024, a leap year, so it was the 68th day of the year. She said, we got to stop this policy of allowing people to do fentanyl on the streets of America because people are dying everywhere. And a lot of this really spiraled after the George Floyd thing on the corner of 38th, and they said he had fentanyl in his system. And remember who the original, I have it up here. Remember, when Prince died, they really started talking about fentanyl and overdoses. And don't forget, Prince had the song Black Donald Trump, and he died 201 days before they called the election for Trump. And don't forget that Trump killed his ex-wife July 14th, 2022. Supposedly she fell down the stairs exactly 60 weeks into the first Jesuit Ignatian year. The same day he said he would run in the 60th presidential election, and then he buried her on the 201st day of the year for the inauguration on the 201st day of the nation's age, just like Biden did the same thing with Beau at 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday. And don't forget who did the funeral for Beau and the inauguration for Joe. Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan, the former head of Georgetown, 201. But yeah, here we go. 68th day of the year. Caskets go 6 feet deep or 8 feet long, unless you're a midget. Dave, how tall are you? You look like a little short, fat guy. And I did see you on an interview. They had a nice side profile. I was like, holy shit, look how long his nose is. But you're talking about how you got bullied a lot growing up. And I said, well, that makes sense. I mean, that explains why you are the way you are. You think you're getting your revenge hiding behind the computer screen. And you're such a pussy too, Dave. You're like, I don't want people coming to my house, so buy this product that I use to hide my identity online so no one can find me. Be like me, Dave. People like to put my address out everywhere, and I say, come over to my house. I got the 3.5-inch shells ready to go. I'll take your head off. Come over. I could use the shooting practice. Carry yourself like a man, Dave, not like a little bot pussy who just believes everything he sees on TV. Anyway, look at this, Dave. On 3/8, they're going to stop the fentanyl policy after all these people have died. Dave, speaking of which, there's a lot of people that don't contribute to the government's wealth. The government has to pay for them. And these tend to be poorer people. So is there an incentive there to get rid of them? Like Agenda 2030 that said eliminate all world poverty? Remember how they were giving out those shots for free to the homeless? By the way, the governor of Oregon who did that, Christine Kotek, the perfect puppet on the stage, 68, on the 68th day of the year, like fentanyl, approved by the FDA in 68, makes the announcement. The population bomb by the Yale professor, Paul Ehrlich. The need for depopulation in 68. A lot of agendas come out of Yale, don't they? 1968, when George W. Bush graduated from Yale in Skull and Bones. Hey, Dave, why don't you look up if the day that Governor Dewey held the first panel to build a future World Trade Center, why don't you look up if that date for that thing was July 6, 1946, the day that George W. Bush was born? Doesn't that seem a little bit number-based on the day he's born? And if you're saying, well, where's the numerology in that? Just sounds like a coincidence. Here's the numbers. Skull and Bones, 41. Papa Bush, number 41, who said, remember, he talked about a new world order, right? A new world order, September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the day of the World Trade Centers coming down that looked like an 11, and New York, the 11th state on the 11th day of the month. First plane, flight AA11. 11, the master number in numerology. Are we seeing a master plan executed by numerology? I mean, you tell me. George H.W. Bush, his birthday, June 12th, the day leaving 202 days left in the year. His son born on 7/6. And you know who else was born on that day? Daniel Coit Gilman, another Skull and Bones member who founded the Johns Hopkins University. You know how they call it the Johns Hopkins University? You know how they call it that? They use the. Isn't it interesting how it's 322? Like Skull and Bones is order 322. We could go on for days, Dave, but these secret societies are very much into these things. And just about 322. These things are called the ancient mystery religions, Dave. They're alluded to in Genesis 322 when it talks about the tree of life and knowing good and evil. It's interesting how 119's there kind of looks like 11th of September, Skull and Bones guy in charge, as they performed essentially a big magic ritual on the world stage to get us into 20 years of war. And didn't they end it on August 15th, the anniversary of the Jesuits being born in France? Just like how Japan surrendered on that day and the Jesuits have been there since the 16th century after getting the bombings by the numbers. But ancient mystery religions 322 and Abrahamic religions. And didn't they divide the world? You know, the Abrahamic religions with what they did there on 9/11? Seemingly paying tribute to Genesis 322, using the Kabbalistic code for evil, which is the thing that has you under its spell, Dave. Here, let's close out with Dave since I talked for so long. Let's listen to him one more time. Then I got to get my daughter. I am running a little late here. Dave, schmug Dave, he thinks he's so smart. Here, look at him. Let's listen to Dave. He's really mad about what this lady has to say. Let's listen to how smart Dave is.
You don't know what vaccines are. Jesus isn't real. Judgment Day is not a thing. Like, we don't.
And Dave, I'm not a religious guy either. I am a spiritual person. I do think there is a creator. How do you know that Jesus isn't real? I won't claim that Jesus isn't real. I don't know that Jesus isn't real. I tend to think the story's a little bit of a trick to get people to put a lot of money in the plate on Sundays, but and also wait for a hero that probably isn't coming. But how do you know? You just said he's not real. How do you make these claims? I mean, you make big claims. Where's your proof?
You know, like,
He'd say, no, the proof is I need to see Jesus. I get it, Dave. I'm kind of the same way, but I still won't say that Jesus isn't real because I can't back it up. Just like you're not going to be able to back up what you're about to say.
It's about freedom. You have freedom of speech. You're allowed to say all this shit and not go to jail. You don't go to jail when you...
I honestly think we should put people like Dave in jail because my neighbor's dead and the other one's about to die, and so are a lot of other people, and you guys promoted a very evil agenda. Actually, I don't really believe in jail and prison, but I think there should be some kind of justice for you. You got paid a lot of money for telling these lies that led people into very dangerous decisions that you're 1,000,000% wrong about, and you just can't admit it. You're a real scum, Dave.
You say dumb shit like that, so you have freedom of speech. Freedom of speech doesn't mean there are no consequences for all the dumb shit that you say. Freedom of speech means that you don't go to jail for saying something. Did you ever go to jail for saying some dumb shit like what you just said? No? Then you have freedom of speech. So what the fuck are you whining about? Oh my God, the Jesus thing in here, like, just I can't do it.
It's about the government's trying to kill us. Even Bill Gates had, I think it was kind of like a TED Talk, but he had like, a talk where he said, we need to get the population down, and we're going to do a great job of it. And you know how? Through improving vaccines, because we're going to lower the population that way.
Okay,
and you can
pause.
find it.
She didn't nail the quote. It's not exactly how it was said, but it is along the lines of what was said. He talked about how we can reduce population, and he said his first thing on the list was vaccines, and then he said if we do a great job with this, we can get the population down 10 or 15%. That's what he said.
Pause. You've been voted out. Please return to your seat.
You've been voted out because even the other idiot anti-vaxxers...
And by the way, I hate that whole Jubilee thing. Isn't it interesting that when she brought that up, instantly she just voted out? And there's just so many little shills that are always on these Jubilee things. I can't stand this Jubilee thing for the record, but it is really interesting how when she brought that up, just like how YouTube hates it, they got her out of there. Pretty interesting.
They're like, this woman is a fucking moron. Get her out of that chair. Bill Gates is trying to murder everybody. The government is trying to kill us all. Like, what? Like, where does this logic come from? Like, you understand, even if you're like, oh, the evil government and the evil oligarchy, which to an extent, like, yeah, like, sure, there's bad shit, there's bad people at the top. Why would they want to murder everybody when they're trying to subjugate us and profit off of human labor?
Again, just answer that question, Dave. There's a lot of people that don't contribute and they'd like to get rid of them. And also look at where the technology is. It's smarter than the people. It's more useful than the people. It's really about control and domination. And do they even need any more money? I mean, they hoard all the world's wealth. People like us are fighting over breadcrumbs. Now let's listen to what Bill said one more time, where Dave just doesn't know where it could possibly come from. So again, here it is, Dave, right from the horse's mouth.
Numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra. But let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3. The second factor is the services we use. This encompasses everything.
So again, I mean, it's just right there. It's just right there. Dave, you got to do better research, buddy, just like you tell these flat earthers. All right, guys, I got to pick up my daughter. Thanks again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Somehow we need a video like this to get a lot of views so he feels challenged and is willing to debate, because Dave versus yours truly would be a great debate. Till next time, True Seeker.